Okay. I'm drinking cold tea that I made yesterday. Okay, this one, the Celestine Prophecy, this is the movie, and there are a number of books by James Redfield that talk about higher dimensions. I say higher as in more beautiful, more loving, more free dimensions. If someone says higher dimensions, it's it doesn't necessarily mean these beautiful dimensions where you're more free and there's more beautiful beings. Some dimensions are higher in that beings there have more power to do things, apparently. So, I mean, traditionally we call Earth a globe, a planet, and this is what we're taught, and it's complete lies. We do not live on a globe. It's stupid to waste your time trying to say, oh, well, we live on flat Earth and it's a disc, and what's underneath the flat disc, and what goes on and outside of the disc. That's wrong, because you're thinking, okay, well, if it's not a sphere, a globe, then it's a plate, a dinner plate. And you're still thinking that it is a three-dimensional object. No. It is you at the center of it all. You are the center of your world. And your world is, I can't describe what it is. But to think that you're living on a plate or a sphere, to me, it sounds wrong. Why? Well, it's just because after you've watched the Matrix long enough, and you've seen Star Trek and the holodecks, the idea that you are living in a holographic reality makes more sense. And in a holographic reality, why do you need to be limited to living on a plate or, a globe? It's very primitive thinking, and I mean, I'm sure that if you just drop it, think of yourself living in a hologram and a holodeck on a spaceship. I think that's more accurate. It allows for more things to. I don't know if things will ever make sense, but at least if you think if you're on, if you've never seen Star Trek: The Next Generation, watch a few episodes until you get to the point where you can see what a holodeck is, where they can create computer-generated characters. They can create food out of replicators, out of nothingness at all. You can reproduce historical places. It's just so easy. It's trivial to create these things. And the world that we grow up in, everything is so difficult. Like if you because everything is either machine made or man made in the world that we were given to grow up in. It was a farce because we live we grew up in a historical simulation where there weren't technologies like the holodeck. And where was that created? In a holodeck. And we were mesmerized by this beautiful globe that we are talking about. And then, some of the bullshit history about how scientists originally thought that the world was the center of the universe. And then later on they learned, oh no, that planet Earth is a sphere, and it revolves around the sun, and the sun is one of many, billions of stars in a galaxy, and there's billions of galaxies in the universe, and then, oh, it's not just one universe, it's multiple, uncountable numbers of universes in a multiverse. Um, and then you learn from, the holodeck that it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. You could just be in this holographic reality, and what's outside the hollow world that we live in. I don't know. But if things seem really bizarre, like yesterday, when I was at karaoke, I went into the men's room and I stood at the urinal, and somebody was in the stall and they knew that I was there. How can someone who was in the stall with the door shut know who just walked into the men's room? But they knew. They knew it was me, and they started talking to me as if I was me. Um, Years ago, that would have really thrown me for a loop. It's like there's no way that you could know that I was the one that walked into the room. But once you let go of all this conditioned thought, in other words, everything that they told you, or everything that so you learned that way. You learned that, if someone is in a stall in the bathroom, that they can't see you. And, maybe you heard of ESP or whatever, but um, nobody really thought it was real. It was like, woman's intuition, and it was something that men would talk about when they're having beers, and just about how, you know, it's a woman's thing, and you don't want intuition anyway. It's better to be a man drinking beer. But, so, but, coming back to this, when the person starts talking to me and, they're in the stall, so they can't visually see me, but they know that I'm there. Um, well, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, how do you know? But it doesn't, it's not a big far stretch for me to figure, well, um, because I know things. When I was young, I didn't know these things that I'm given to know now. The world has changed. Something has changed in the way that the world is. When I was a boy, um, the things that were talked about in the original Star Trek were science fiction, and I mean, ooh, wasn't that interesting? What if that was the way it was? And then we went back to our 3D world where there were no extraterrestrials, there were no transporter beams, there were no beings who had telekinesis or telepathy. Um, there were no prison planets. There, there, none of the stuff that was on Star Trek was real. And now, in the world that we've moved on into, I mean, I still haven't seen these extraterrestrials, and and I haven't seen telekinesis, but telepathy is real, absolutely real. And seeing, what I saw last night, where somebody knew that I walked into the room, well, it's because I also have these, is it empath abilities, the abilities to know things without using, the normal physical senses of, sight or hearing. So the world is not what it was, at least if you've been given these new senses. And, the things that used to, maybe freak you out, it's like, well, Are we still playing? I mean, that's the question that always runs through my mind, is because I'm got all these new ways of understanding things, or getting information. Some people say, well, you get downloads from higher dimensions or whatever, all the stuff that goes on. And it's like, well, are we still playing the 3D game? Am I supposed to like say to the person in the stall, how did you know that it was me? And then it seems to me like, because some people just seem to still be living in that old 3D world with all the lies about it. They still seem to be living there, or they're not living in the 3D world, but they're on a script and they're unable to talk about what's true now, the way the world is, the way that I see it. And sometimes I think that's the way, because that's the way I am. Quite often, there's things that I want to say, or I don't even say that I want to say it, because there's like thoughts that I have that I'm not able to say them. So, it's like, that's what I call being scripted, is when you have thoughts that you think, well, in the olden days, if I wanted to blurt these out, I could blurt them out. And then you find, well, they're thoughts in your head, but you can't blurt them out. And the words that you say, as I often say, I don't know what I'm going to say. I just open my mouth and the words come out. So then again, you used to go to a lawyer to get a legal opinion on something. So the idea is that it's the lawyer's opinion. So it's the idea of ownership of your opinion. And the other day somebody said, well, don't you everyone has a right to their opinion. And the whole concept behind opinions breaks down when opinions, and it's like, you happen upon an opinion. I don't think you happen upon them. I think, opinions are given to you by telepathy, and you get to the point where you perhaps recognize, well, this is an opinion. Is it my opinion? Even if I speak this opinion, is it my opinion? So just because I say it, and then if you're still living in the old 3D world and you say, well, Bob said that, so it's his opinion, it's very stupid. And if you still think that way, then you haven't awoken to the way things are. And this is the issue, because if I can't tell if you're awake to these kind of ways of looking at things, I can't tell unless you're speaking the way I'm speaking now. And I live with my parents who don't speak the way I do. They still talk like they're living in the 3D world. In other words, they live on a globe, and then all the humans have no telepathy and no extrasensory perception. And when I talk like this, it weirds them out, and they don't like it, and they tell me to shut up, and that they're going to threaten to put me in, wherever. So, and then I just have to live with it. You just have to live with it, and people who say, well, you can do something about it. I mean, there's so much bullshit that people say, and it's their script. These people that talk about revoking your soul contracts with these unseen beings. Well, I tried it in different ways. It doesn't work. And if they say, well, you need to take our course or watch more videos, you don't get any superpowers or special abilities by listening to more and more videos on the same subject. And I look at these videos and, they're like over an hour and a half of somebody talking about this. I'm already at 14 minutes and I'm saying, well, I should stop the video because if it's like me and it's like over 10 minutes, I don't want to watch it. So, anything else that we want to put in this video? Um, I mean, the names. I mean, the names drop into my mind, and I mean, you get to the point where you don't care what you say and what you don't say, because what you say and what you don't say is not up to you. Who's it up to? I don't know. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm a Muppet, and there's a script that comes through, and sometimes it's like the script plays with you and it says, well, you can say Andrew Bartzis, who's one of these soul contract revocation people, and then you wait to see if you're going to say it or not, or if you're going to say it later on. So that's the way you are. And the thing that bugs me the most is that I am a sentient being. In other words, I'm an aware being. And to be scripted, I don't like it. Because it's the way that I am being operated now. I don't have access to my memories, my own things that happen to me in my own life. I don't have they get blocked. So I feel like I'm an automaton, I'm a robot, and I'm running only on what I'm given. And, I don't feel like I'm a whole person. I am, I'm not whole. I am blocked from pieces of what I used to consider me by unknown beings to teach me that I am not the thing that I used to be because they've taken it away. What gives them the right to take it away? I don't know. I mean, do you remember where you were before you were born? Some people think, well, you didn't exist before you were born. I don't know. And, the things that I'm saying to you when I say I don't know, is that my script that says I don't know and I really know? Or I really know and I'm saying I don't know? You can't tell what the being talking to you, you can't tell the truth from the falsehood. So I suppose, the worst part of it is that you don't have free independence. You don't have access to what you used to be. The scientist questions, well, I mean, if these things can be taken away from you, the scientist wants to study this. Like, how is this done? And how is it that these different faculties that used to be all one thing for you are all separated now into separate faculties that can be, it's like computers, computer programs with you original computers, you had access to everything that you thought was accessible to you. It was like, you loaded a program, anybody could run the program that was on your computer. And, it wasn't like you could really get into the Windows, I mean, the operating system. Well, most people, when they first played with computers, didn't really understand operating systems unless you were in a computer science program and you learned about it. But, if you just happened to buy a computer at, whatever store you bought your computer from, and, maybe it was at work, you went to work and one day there was a desktop computer sitting on your desk and, you got a brief introduction. Well, this is how you turn it on, and it'll take 5 minutes to load up. And once it loads up, well, this is how you double click on an application. This is, Word Perfect. Back in those days, it was the word processing program. And this is Lotus 123. Click on this. This is your spreadsheet program. And this is my number. I'm your helpline. And if you have a problem, you call me, and I'm at the help desk, and me and my team will help you. And that's how you learned about computers. It was forced upon you. And then, a few years later, you got a new computer, and Windows had been updated and changed. And then, some things were the same, some things were different. And you could get a big thick Windows manual, and the first time you got it, you opened it and you looked at it, and after you gone through 10 pages, you said, "This is the shittiest manual ever. It's boring. It's not what I need to know. I mean, they're giving me stupid things that a grade 2 would probably find stupid too." So you learn right away that printed manuals are useless, and as soon as you get them, you throw them away, or you put them in the filing cabinet, and no one ever looks at them. And after working there for 10 years, you looking back and you see all these owner's manuals for the different computers that came to you over the years, and you realize that other than that first 10 pages of the first manual, the other ones were never opened, so it's a huge waste of paper. Anyways, I'm at 21 minutes, and I could keep going. So anyway, the scientist in you, if you've got any curiosity, is curious about how how you are. What exactly are you? If pieces of your memory can be taken away, are you a computer-generated computer that wore tennis shoes? That was an old movie with Kurt Russell, one of his first ones for Disney. Is that what you are? I mean, you were taught that you were an organic, carbon-based human being, a physical being living on a physical world. But if you watch Star Trek The Next Generation or some of these other ones, you can see how easy it is in those stories to create computer-generated holograms that just pop into your holographic world. So is that what I am? I'm a hologram, and I don't think anymore. It's like I'm given thoughts. Where do they come from? Is there some supercomputer that's controlling what I think and what I don't think? I mean, it strips away your ego. In other words, you're feeling that you're an independent being. It strips it all away because all the stuff gets taken away from you. And then sometimes it's all put back together and you act like it never happened. But and sometimes you're made to forget so that you can act normal with 3D people who haven't awoken or something. I mean, it's so stupid. But I mean, that's how you learn what you're given to learn. Is it annoying? Oh, it's very annoying. It's like when you wake up in the morning and then some other being is pulling at your balls and you're going, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, because somebody said, well, if you swear at them, they'll leave you alone. No, they don't. And you revoke your soul contracts with these things. It doesn't work. You smudge the room with sage. It doesn't work. You try everything you can find on the internet and at the library, how to deal with entities. Nothing works. So you come to accept that this is the way it is. It's still annoying. Maybe you're supposed to laugh a little bit. And sometimes it's letting go of, it used to be the ego, but it's not the ego. It's letting go of your humanness. You're no longer human, and whatever you are, you're an experiencer. I often talk about Dr. David Hawkins, the Enlightenment teacher, and he talks about, in one of his lectures, has quite a long lecture about the experiencer as being a part of what a human is. And after listening to that a number of times, and then what my life is like now, what he says doesn't make any sense anymore. So, I mean, it's problematic. I mean, I guess he was good at the time at opening my eyes to the way he looked at things as spiritual. And I don't know if we ever used the word soul. Do we have souls? No. It has too much religious connotations to it. You know, your immortal soul that God gave you, or, you know, and soul contracts. It's all very religious. You know, even the word spiritual. Spirits refer to like ghosts. It's like back in the 1800s, and if you were Sherlock Holmes and you were investigating, you know, you went to a seance with a Ouija board or a medium, you know, and you were dealing with spirits. It's archaic. You know, the terminology is archaic. I still seem to get colds, but you know, the last cold that I got, it came on instantaneously. You know, you think, well, in the old days when you got a cold, they said, well, you got it because you somebody coughed in the air and then you breathed in virus particles. They got into your lungs and then they infected some of your lung cells. Your lung cells were hijacked to produce more virus particles, which were released into your bloodstream and infected more and more cells of your body. And this took a certain amount of linear time between the time when you first were exposed to the cold virus in the air, and the time for your body to manufacture lots of viruses. And then the viruses got all throughout your body. They got into your sinuses and into your eyes, you know, and wherever I mean, I think they said that the cough reflex is some part of your brain that causes your, you to cough and all this stuff. Um, and that's the way it was in the olden days before the world moved on. Now, when I get a cold, it's like I've got a cold. It's like someone flipped a switch. Someone flipped a switch, and I instantaneously knew, oh shit, they've given me a cold. So the whole virus theory about getting a cold is wrong. It's more, I mean, virus particles being, you know, organic carbon little particles that get into your organic body and taking time in the body to generate a cold in you. It's more like a computer virus. You know, it's like, or in the olden days when you were browsing and you got onto a bad website, and then the website hijacked your computer and it put like 30 screens kept popping up, a new screen, a new screen, a new screen. Never, you couldn't close the screens fast enough. They just kept exploding all over your computer. So all you could do was turn off your computer, and then you turn on your computer again to see whether that was still there. If it was gone, then you're going, oh, thank God, you know, and then you try and figure out, well, what website was that? I'm never going there again. And, or you turn on your computer and it's the same thing, and you turn it off three times and you go, oh God, it's broken. My computer is broken and then you take it into the computer technician, and the computer technician says, oh, you've got a virus. You know, oh, it came, you know, opened an email, and you know, the millions of different ways that the virus of the computer can get on your computer, and then the computer is broken instantaneously. That's what it's like when I get a cold now. It's like someone flipped a switch and I instantly got a cold. You know, it's like maybe a half a second before I got the cold, it's like, oh shit, here comes a cold. And then, you know, it's like someone gave you something a cursed object. They've given you a cursed object. It's coming to you. Here comes your cursed object. Oh, there's a cold attached to this cursed object, and perhaps if you don't take this cursed object, you won't get the cold. That's the thought that I got. But my body, it's too slow, or actually, the truth is, I don't have control over my body, and the body takes the cursed object, and I get the cold. Welcome to the new reality. That's half an hour. I hope you enjoyed your lecture. I've got so much more to tell you. Stay tuned.